Hello, 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 and welcome to the purple sofa, John's multicolored sofa, and welcome to Sarah's LinkedIn Live Lounge. And today I have a very, very special guest with me for lots and lots of reasons, which I will explain. I have the relentlessly helpful John Espirian. Welcome, John.
Thanks very much for having me, Sarah. It's been a whirlwind week, but I'm very, very happy to be here.
It really has been a whirlwind week for you. Do you know what? I think we should talk about that first. I think let's talk about Uplift Live, because it was the first UK LinkedIn conference ever, and it was your baby.
It was, yes.
Last week. So tell us, when did you have the initial idea? What was it all about, and how did it sort of grow into what we had?
Well, the idea came from, I just put out a tweet about 3 years ago saying one day I really want to get my people from LinkedIn together in one room to do something. Originally, it was around the idea of the Friday Shout Club, which I do every week. But more recently, I've been thinking, we haven't ever had a LinkedIn conference in the UK. LinkedIn aren't going to organize one themselves. So why don't I just do it? So I got together with a couple of friends and we put on a conference. And that's what we've been planning for the last sort of 9 months or so. And last week it happened for real in Birmingham. And there are about 170 of us there. A lot of us are LinkedIn specialists. Some of us are LinkedIn enthusiasts. Others just wanted to learn a bit about how LinkedIn works. And we got together for a whole day, and you were there, and I think it was fab. But you tell me what you think, maybe. I'm biased.
Well, I'm not going to say it wasn't, obviously. No, in all honesty, it was absolutely brilliant. I loved the energy for the whole day. It was so well organised. I mean, no question. But obviously, anything that you do, John, is always going to be very well organised. The speakers were all absolutely brilliant. One of the things I really loved about it was how each speaker talked about something different, a different aspect of LinkedIn. But not only that, there were differing views. Even on the panel, one person said one thing and another person said, well, actually, I don't agree with you. I think this. And that's what I love about LinkedIn, but also what was great about your conference was that you created an environment where it was okay to do that, where people felt comfortable and confident enough to say what they wanted to say. And it was just brilliant meeting all the people that we've been communicating with on LinkedIn for years in real life. It was fantastic. So well done.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it was high time, I think. I've been to loads of other social media conferences and general conferences, and LinkedIn's always a bit of an afterthought, or it's not mentioned at all. And it's very, very superficial kind of, add a profile photo kind of thing. And we wanted to be a bit deeper than that. So we've got some, we have got some real experts, not just in the UK, but actually from around the world, flew them in, put them up in a hotel, and hopefully compensated them well, and heard all of their expertise. And yeah, there are differing views, because the way I do things is not the same as the way everyone else does, but that's fine. We all have success in our own right, and it's good to have differing viewpoints so that the audience can go, well, that bit suits me and that other bit suits me and this bit maybe doesn't, because if we all said the same thing, it would be really, really boring, and it probably wouldn't be true. So yeah, it's good to have kind of creative discussions and differences. I think that's all good.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is all good. And there's so much to LinkedIn. There's obviously different ways of doing it, and depending who you are and what your position is. So yeah, no, it was, and as you say, the people that you got in were the top people on LinkedIn, some of those top voices, the top experts that we all revere on LinkedIn, and it was great to meet them and hear their insights. So yeah, fantastic. I'm guessing there's going to be one next year.
There is, yes. We already committed before putting this one on that we've built up too much of a head of steam and got too much goodwill before the event had even taken place to kill it there. So yes, we're aiming to do it again. Hopefully aiming for around March next year. We're going to confirm the details very, very soon. And yeah, lots of people who didn't come have said, Right. Okay. I see what I was missing now. Definitely there next year. So we had about 170 or something a day. I'm expecting a lot more next time, and it's going to be even bigger and better. So yes, absolutely happening again.
Great. And I love when I was writing it actually in a post or in a comment, Uplift Live 25. I mean, it's got to be, hasn't it? It's got such a good ring to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Right. We have some comments. I'm going to read them out. Marianne Avery, and a great conference it was too, she says. Fantastic. Hello, Marianne. Lovely to see you. And G's in the house. G's in the house, catching me alive today. Loving hearing about this conference. G, you've got to make it next year. We definitely need G there next year, don't we? Nothing but the best compliments. And we have one of our speakers here in the audience. Hello, Kevin D. Turner. It wasn't boring in the Brum. It wasn't. Here's to Uplift Live 2025. Fantastic. Yeah, Kevin's talk was amazing, as always. I love the way Kevin sort of goes slightly off piece and talks about something different, which is brilliant. So brilliant. So Uplift Live, we're very happy with that, and we're very excited already for next year. Oh, and before we go any further, I just have we have Jeremy Freeman. Jeremy was one of your co-conspirators.
He was, yeah, he was one of the 3-person mission control, because I had an idea to do this, but there's no way I could have pulled this off on my own. I needed people who had events experience getting sponsors, so and with marketing and so forth. So we were a 3-person team, and it needed that. There's no way you can do a conference on your own. So yeah, wouldn't have been possible without Jeremy's help and without Gus's help.
Brilliant. Yeah, you were a really, really good team. Really good team. And hello, Jane from Canada West Coast. Okay, so you are, John, I'm pretty sure the first LinkedIn expert that I ever met. And I met you in the flesh before I knew you very well on LinkedIn. When did you start on LinkedIn?
Oh, I probably threw myself in at the start of 2017, really only because all the other attempts of getting new clients for my copywriting business, which is what I used to do, really weren't turning up anything good all the way up till then. So I just thought, I work with B2B clients. LinkedIn is all about B2B. Let's forget all the other places. Let's forget the Twitters and the Facebooks and just go all in one place. And that was really the start of the journey. So I've been on LinkedIn since 2008, but I never used it. I joined because my old boss said, you need to be on this thing. And I said, all right, well, I'll sign up. Can you leave me alone now? And I did, but I didn't actually get active on it until 2017. And then the way I am, because I used to be a software tester, I was like, oh, why does that do that thing? And why is that broken? And so I just ended up posting about, I've noticed this. And, oh, by the way, if you do this, then this happens. And people just started knowing me for that. And eventually I ended up speaking about it and consulting about it and training about it. And here we are. And that's 6-7 years later.
So the two things that come out of what you've just said, which is really interesting. So when you decided to go for LinkedIn, you dropped all the other platforms. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd probably say on social media, 90% of my social media time was spent on LinkedIn at that point, once I decided to go all in, because I'd spent the year before then studying content marketing, and everyone was saying, you've got to be known in one place for one thing. You can't be good in 5 spaces. So it's really hard to be good in 5 spaces. You might as well be good in one. And I thought, well, I'm not really good in any of them. And I haven't really properly given this LinkedIn thing a try. But I suspect my clients are there, so why not just go for it? And it was lucky timing, because Microsoft had just bought LinkedIn the year before, 2016, and sort of things were changing with the algorithm and the look and feel. So I just probably got in at a good time. And obviously all of this was pre-pandemic, because during the pandemic, obviously LinkedIn, a lot of people then started looking at LinkedIn seriously when they were stuck at home thinking, how's my work life actually going to work in the future? So I got in at the right time, and I've been going at it since then. But the advice I always give to people is, you've got to do this stuff for a while for it to work, because the first sort of 18 months, not very much happened, to be honest with you. It was only when I got sort of year 2, year 3, people started to notice me and mention me sometimes and DM me a bit more often. And, you can see like, oh, something's happening here. And now that it's 6 or 7 years in, I've written a book, I do consulting, I've now organized a conference. So LinkedIn is definitely, a key part of my business. But if you give up too early, which is I think what a lot of people do, they publish 5 podcasts, I didn't blow up, so let's just give that up. It's never going to work that quickly. You've got to stick at it a bit longer.
You have, absolutely. And I see, so I obviously came to LinkedIn after you did, but I see it happens in kinds of waves, if you like, that all of a sudden I'll have a jump in all my metrics and all my engagement, and everything jumps, and then it plateaus for a bit and stays kind of ish the same, and then suddenly whoosh, there's another jump. And it's just interesting how it works. But I completely agree, it is not an overnight success tool, is it?
No.
It does take time. And somebody asked me that today, if I work with you, Sarah, how long will it take before I get my first client? Well, I don't really know that, because that depends on many other factors, but it ain't going to be, for a good few months at least. You may be lucky, of course, and may get a client at the beginning, which happened to me, which was quite weird, but it does take time, and it's because it's about building relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, during my talk on stage, I said I use a lot of analogies in my content. It would be like going to a personal trainer, being totally out of shape, and then going, "I'd like a washboard stomach tomorrow, please." Well, that's not possible. It takes some time, but more importantly, once you get there, you don't just give up. That's like you haven't got a washboard stomach for the rest of your life. You've got to keep putting some effort in to keep things ticking over. So it's more than just a campaign. It's more than just putting some ads out. It's a kind of way of marketing your business that's long term. And yeah, these things don't happen quickly. It's not a very sexy message to deliver to people if they want results in a couple of weeks and you're saying, well, it's probably going to take at least 6 months, and then you've got to keep doing stuff after that. That's not the best that's not the best message to have to deliver, but it is true.
It is absolutely true. And because I'm a gym buddy, and I use a very similar analogy. I talk about the gym a lot and compare it to LinkedIn. And somebody said to me this morning, "You don't need to go to the gym every day." I'm like, well, if I didn't go to the gym every day, you'd probably say that I did. And it is keeping it going and keeping that momentum going. And it's a mindset, isn't it? Because you've got to get into the habit of doing it every day, pretty much. And it's just shifting that mindset in people or in yourself to make sure that you keep on doing it. So, John, you are known as relentlessly helpful. And I noticed that you've trademarked that statement.
I have, yes.
Very
I just
clever.
well, I've seen other people using it since I came up with it, and I came up with it just in a moment of inspiration once, but it stuck with me, and a lot of people say it back to me, and that's always a good sign that something has landed with people. And I do have some vague plan to finally release a second book, and if I do, then it will be titled Relentlessly Helpful. And I just thought I might as well go through the trademark process, which I've already done for my first book, Content DNA. And it's actually, if you're in the UK, it's remarkably easy. I've even got a blog telling you how to do it, and it only costs £170 and takes a few months to go through the paperwork, but it's not difficult. So if you have ever developed a bit of marketing lingo that is associated with you, the last thing you want is for some bigger creator to come along and go, "Oh, that's interesting, I'll start using that," and then all of a sudden someone thinks it's theirs and it isn't. So you might just want to protect your brand by trademarking something that is really distinctive and powerful. So I took the decision, and yeah, you'll probably see more of that in the future.
Can't wait. How exciting. And you really, really have built your career as it looks now on being relentlessly helpful, haven't you?
Well, I've tried to, yeah, because otherwise you're just making a fluffy promise to people. You come up with fancy words and it's all great and it looks great and your graphics are great, but if it doesn't bear any relation to reality, then what's the point of it all? You've got to try and say, you've got to make like I said again, at the conference, you've got to make the biggest promise you can keep, right? So relentlessly helpful is a really big promise if you think about it, but I try to do it all the time. If people ask me questions and what is the most helpful way of responding to people and giving people some proactive help, that's what I'm trying to do. And so I encourage everyone to try and think about what it is that you want to be known for, and then just make that the biggest, shiniest, boldest promise you can, and put that out into the world and keep putting it so that people remember you. Because that's the thing. If people notice and remember you, you've got a much better chance of being the service provider of choice when it comes time to getting the checkbook out, because they'll go, oh, there was that guy who whatever. You just get that advantage over someone else, and that is critical.
Absolutely. And you've got your 3 colors, which are really prominent. You wear them, you live them, eat them, breathe them, sleep them. And I'm the same with mine. And I know it isn't just about color palette and how you look, but all of those little points help you be rememberable.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a psychological point here, which is that when people are scrolling their social media feeds, which increasingly people are doing through the mobile phone, and your thumb scrolling at 1,000,000 miles an hour. If you see one of my posts and if it's on brand, then there's a good chance that, somewhere in your brain, you're registering, oh, that guy is still alive, still relevant. Even if you haven't actually read the post, you've seen the visual narrative. You might have scrolled past it, but it's just like saying, that person is still around, that person is still around, that person is still around. And if you keep doing that, that's much better than just putting out stock images that anyone else could have done. So having a clear color palette and a consistent way of using it, for me, it's blue, green, and orange, and it's always in that order. It just helps it's just another facet of your brand. Your brand is much more than your visuals, but it is still an important part. And for you, your purple and orange always recognizable, to the point where you color your hair. I mean, that's impressive commitment.
And I got the wrong color. I brought the wrong color the other day because I do it myself.
It looks fine to me.
It's not quite my purple, but hey ho.
But the point is, there is a point to you being on a purple sofa with with an orange cushion. There's a reason why I will always show up wearing a blue shirt. At the pre-party, some people didn't recognize me and said, "Where's your blue shirt?" Because I turned up in a suit. And I said, well, it was navy blue. It was, but they were like, "Where's your blue shirt?" And that's interesting, because that means that my visual language has landed in their brains, because they saw something different and thought, hang on, and that was a bit of an exceptional case. But if you see me on video, it's going to be with this on. And there is a reason, because it reinforces the idea every time.
Absolutely. I was about to say, it reinforces the message. And I get sent stuff in the post with purple and orange. I got a purple and orange makeup bag from a client recently. I saw this and thought of you, kind of thing. And lovely Tina Jarvett, who was speaking at Uplift Live, she was sending me photos from the National Gallery when she was, the day before the conference, and it was all purple and orange stuff. And she said, "I'm thinking of you because I'm seeing all of this purple and orange." So it all helps. It all helps.
It all really does. Someone once sent me a photo where she'd opened her freezer and she had 3 Tupperwares in there, and they were blue, green, and orange. She took a photo of it and sent it to me. She said, "Saw this and thought of you." It was like, wow, okay, that's fantastic.
The insides of my freezer. I love that. The comments are going mad here. I'm going to read some. I haven't got my glasses on, so I have to lean into the screen, I'm afraid. Ryan Anderson, who did the closing song at Uplift Live.
He did.
LinkedIn wasn't working for me after waiting 10 minutes. Funny that, isn't it? I finally thought to check out YouTube. Lovely to see you. And what I love about what's happening here in the comments, and I know if you're listening to the podcast, you won't know this, but there's a conversation going between 2 of the people. "Hi, how are you? See you in July," between Marianne and Kim. And that's what LinkedIn is about, isn't it? It's about these communications and just talking.
I think so. Yeah, it was a really collegiate atmosphere, wasn't it? And there was none of this there was none of this them and us. It doesn't matter how many followers you've got. It doesn't matter whether you're a speaker or an attendee or anything else. Everyone kind of mucked in together, and there were no cliques, and it was all really good fun. And that's, we're being reflected in our comments today. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it's the community, and that's what I love about LinkedIn. It's the community that I feel. So if I'm feeling a bit down, which bizarrely I do sometimes, I'll go onto LinkedIn and I'll hang out on LinkedIn with my buddies, and it actually makes me feel better.
Well, there you go. Fantastic. And it all comes from, just having that community spirit. It's the old way of doing things is very kind of protective, and you don't want to share your secrets. And really, the new way of doing things is look for partners, share what you know, because your colleagues might be able to refer work to you, or you never know who might be influenced in something you're putting out into the world. So it's all more about sharing. And another analogy I sometimes make is the difference between a lighthouse and the campfire. The lighthouse is broadcasting this light everywhere, but actually these smaller communities where people can huddle around together and have a shared sense of identity, I think they're I think actually they're the future of social media, because social media is getting ever bigger, arguably ever more scary. People getting cancelled all over the place, and there's so many people, you might feel like you're shouting into the wind sometimes. Actually, having a smaller community of people who are genuinely a bit more like you and are interested in the sorts of things you're interested in, those smaller communities, you can have a bigger voice in them, and you can strengthen your connections. And actually, for most of us, I mean, I'm certainly speaking for myself, I don't know if I'm speaking for the rest of the audience, you don't need tens of thousands of clients. You might only need 10 or 50 or maybe 100. You don't need the whole world. So actually having a small network of really tightly, people who really trust each other in a small community with shared ideals and shared purpose, I think that's going to be the future of social media. It's like lots of smaller groups, as opposed to trying to talk to 3 billion people in one go. I don't think that's going to be a thing in the future.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, because and that was a big thing that came out of Uplift Live, actually, was that we don't need those huge communities, and we don't need hundreds and hundreds of clients. So why are we trying to spread ourselves, very thinly?
Yeah.
What we want is these genuine, deeper relationships, which, as you said, create the trust. And in fact, somebody came to me today who and this happens quite a lot, and it must happen to you as well. You get a direct message from somebody on LinkedIn who is maybe a first or even a second degree connection, and said, I want to work with you. And they want to work with you because they know who you are, because you've been on LinkedIn for so long and you're always putting yourself out there, so people know exactly what they're buying into.
Yep, that's right. It's word of mouth, and it's also people seeing your content footprint appearing in their feed. A comment you've left somewhere, for example, is the most obvious way of seeing stuff. And I've got loads of connections and work off the back of my presence and off the back of the word of mouth that you get from other people. So if you're busy keeping all your secrets to yourself and trying to backstab your competitors and doing all sorts of other things, no, people aren't really going to see your stuff. They're certainly not going to recommend you. It's not the way the modern social network works. So it's really in your benefit to try and think of how you can be of as much utility to your network and your direct network as you can, because that spreads, and it's really powerful stuff if you're brave enough to do it.
Absolutely. And also the thing about LinkedIn and LinkedIn trainers, coaches, whatever you want to call us, is that, and you identified earlier, that we'll talk together and we'll promote each other, because there's plenty of work out there. There are plenty of people out there who want the services of a LinkedIn trainer, but also is that we're all different and we all teach in a different way. We all have different types of clients. So why not help each other? It just makes sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And more power to that. It's like I say at the start of Content DNA, a rising tide lifts all boats. It's a very, very old phrase, but it's really true. So the more we can try and help each other, the more everyone's level goes up. We all learn from each other. You know, we were really lucky to have Kevin coming over from Dallas, for example. I mean, he shares more new LinkedIn features than you can shake a stick at, and we all learn from him. Well, he
Yeah,
could keep them for himself and his clients, but actually, his personal brand, he would not be speaking on a conference stage in the UK if it weren't for the fact that he's happy to share what he learns. The same with someone like Linnea in New Zealand does the same kind of thing, and Richard with his algorithm report. We all
absolutely.
share stuff, and it basically helps everyone, but it also shines a spotlight on us, and it helps us too. So everyone wins basically. Why wouldn't you do that?
Absolutely. And so actually let's touch on content DNA on your book, which I have a signed copy on my bookshelf up there. When did that come out, John?
Well, next month it'll be the 4-year anniversary. So it came out just at the start of the lockdown pandemic. Otherwise, I would have launched the book in person. But yeah, it's based on 10 years worth of me having been a copywriter and keep telling people the same thing. They would come to me saying, we need a blog on so and so, and I would go, hang on, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to be known for? What's your brand voice that we're trying to emulate here? To give me all these things, and often they hadn't thought about those things properly, and so we have to do a deep dive and go, right, well, what matters to you? Who are you anyway? What are you trying to be remembered for? What are you trying to be known for? And so the book goes into all of that, and it's based on really the bit of luck that I had in coming up with Relentlessly Helpful, and the positives that had on my business. And I just thought that was a bit of a lucky moment for me. I don't want other people to have to rely on this luck. And let's just put all of the things that I know about copywriting into one space and help other people kind of build their brand and create more memorable content. So yeah, it's 4 years old, and there are a couple of LinkedIn reference in there that probably could do with updating, but generally it's kind of evergreen advice that is still relevant right now.
It is, and one of the overarching messages in the book is about being congruent
Yeah.
across all of your platforms, and I think people, certainly in the past and even now, see LinkedIn as a place where you should behave differently and post different
Mhm.
content from perhaps on the other social media channels. But I always say, no, you post the same. You're the same person. You're the same shape and size. You've
Yeah.
got the same message wherever you are.
Yeah, I definitely don't buy the people who snark at that kind of thing. Instagram is one thing, and TikTok is one thing, and LinkedIn is, and it has to be that, and it can't be anything else. Go and look at the success that those people are having, and seeing whether it's working out for them. And I would always try and say, don't accept criticism from someone you wouldn't go to for advice. So, don't let that throw you off. If you want to be a certain kind of person on LinkedIn, that's totally up to you. I think congruence matters because at some point you're going to take these relationships off the social media. You're going to do a Zoom call, you're going to meet people at an event or in person or somehow. And if you're not the person that you've portrayed online, then something's not going to add up. And we're naturally going to be suspicious, aren't we? So if you're this fun, bouncy, crazy, person online, and then you're a real drag in person, people are going to go, well, that was just an act. So how can I trust you? It's all about trust at the end of the day. So, but if you
Exactly.
are exactly the same person, then that's a really good sign. So yes, just turn up and be you is the easiest thing to do. And so for me, I wear hoodies. I like cartoons. I like being nerdy, and all the other things that people know me for. And I talk about them in person just as I do online. It's all good. That won't be for some people, which is fine, but at least you know what you're going to get.
Absolutely. And when I, after lockdown, particularly when we started going to events in person, and I was meeting people for the first time in person, obviously I'd seen them on LinkedIn, say, wow, you're exactly how you are on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
yeah,
And my first thought was, I don't think I could be anything else. I
yeah,
don't, I wouldn't know how
yeah,
or why I would want to do that,
yeah.
which, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, for our speakers last week, Nigel is the only one I'd met before. The others I'd never met. and all of them were exactly the way that I thought they were going to be. So I was, I was reassured, but I actually wasn't surprised. I've known these people online long enough to know that they're not kind of defrauding me. So yeah, it's just be yourself, so that you really show up the right way when you meet people in person. It does matter.
Yes. I'm just reading Ryan's comment. We love you just the way you are.
Nice. That's not a clue for next year's song, by the way. We've got I've got something that I've requested Ryan to do. I don't know if he can pull it off, but we will see.
Brilliant. I love that. Now I'm going to throw this one at you, John, because I forgot to tell you I was going to ask you this at the end, because we are coming to the close. But and I'm sure you can come up with this very easily. Have you got 3 top tips for people to take away with them today for LinkedIn?
Oh, well, I suppose that the thing that you always need to optimize is your headline. I talked about it at the conference last week. It's just so important. I mean, I keep re-emphasizing it because it really, really, really matters. I mean, my relentlessly helpful, that phrase is so valuable to me. It's never going to leave my headline because it's me in a nutshell. You need to get to you in a nutshell and think about what is the biggest promise that you can keep, and put that in your headline. And then I would also say, leave substantive comments, with real authority every time you show up, because that will get you noticed far quicker than anything else. And if you've got a small following, comments are the fastest accelerant to visibility. So commenting a lot and with depth is really powerful. It takes time, but it's worth it. And then I suppose the final thing is just go a bit deeper with your DMs with people. Don't try and throw people a sales pitch, but instead use all of the tools that DMs give you to really build proper relationships with people. So I talked last week about the power of voice notes and video notes. Again, they take time to do, but they're not automated. You can see it. It's like, it's his voice, it's his face on the video, someone really paying close attention to you and giving you that kind of personal attention without trying to spam you or do anything else. I think that stuff is really powerful, and that route to being noticed and remembered and preferred, moving people from the public sphere into the private sphere of DMs, that's actually where all the business happens. It does take a while for it to, it might take 18 months before someone trusts you enough to work with you, but it's really powerful stuff if you can commit to it. So yeah, headline, do more commenting, pay more attention than in the DMs.
Brilliant. Yes. And with commenting, I completely agree. And I've got various stories of clients of mine who have won clients by a comment that they have placed on somebody else's post, not by their post. Obviously, the post back up what they're doing and having the profile and everything all optimized, but it's the comments that have gotten the clients and the jobs. And it's been incredible when I see this happen. It makes my little heart sing. It does. But I agree. I spend quite a lot of time sometimes thinking about a comment, and perhaps longer sometimes than I would creating a post, because I think it is so important to get it right.
If you do it in the right spots, it really can be. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to see how this brand new feature that just seemed to have dropped yesterday, I don't have it yet, but the new video tab on the mobile app that some people have got in the beta makes it look like LinkedIn's turning into TikTok, if it works the way it's intended to, the way it looks like. So I wonder if finally there's going to be a decent successor to the whole stories thing that got pulled a few years ago. And this could be a more visible way of getting your face on camera in portrait mode. And it's the thing that might have been missing. So I'm really interested to give that a whirl, because I'm not afraid of being on camera. I've done it enough times, and obviously you're not either. So anyone watching this, if you get that feature, I only know people in the US who've got the beta so far, but if you get it, the way LinkedIn works is basically they launch a new feature, and when it rolls out, the people who are using it heavily in the first couple of months tend to get loads of extra visibility.
Yes.
They give it a push. Sometimes they kill it afterwards, but they do give it an early push. So if you can kind of be ready and think, what kind of stuff would I do in a portrait video? Just be ready to go, so that when it happens, you can be one of the first to use it. Maybe you can ride that wave, and it can help you build your personal brand on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Be an early adopter, because LinkedIn, as you said, LinkedIn will give you credit for that, which is great. We are slightly over time, John. I can't believe how quickly these go. It's just like, whew.
Oh, it's a good sign.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. But thank you so much for joining me on my purple sofa, sort of ish. It's been an absolute delight talking to you, and love. As you know, I follow you since when I first started on LinkedIn, and I think your content's brilliant. I love your attitude to LinkedIn. I think it's great. John, where can we find you?
Well, if you can spell my name, Espirian, then you'll find me easily enough. There aren't too many of me around. Yes, so LinkedIn and my website are the two main places, and I'm always open to DMs with nice people. So, and anyone can message me. You don't even need to connect with me, so you can just message me. If you've got something interesting to say or a question to ask, come and find me and drop me a line.
Oh, well, thank you, John. Over time, John, says Kevin. And we've got Ella in the house. Hello, Ella. Ella's seen a lot of negativity about the new short form video format, but as a TikTok creator, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's reserve judgment until we can actually use it, because I've seen a preview of it, but I haven't actually seen it in practice. So I think potentially it could be really good. Maybe not, but we won't know until we try it. And that's the thing. You won't know if anything's good until you try it. So just experiment for yourself. It might work for me, not work for you, or vice versa, but you never know unless you try. So just have an open mind, give it a whirl. If it doesn't work, you can move on, try something else. But I'm interested to give it a whirl.
Yeah, me too, definitely. No, I haven't got it either. So I don't know anybody in the UK who has, whether it hasn't been
No,
rolled.
not yet. Not yet, but I think I only started hearing about it yesterday or the day before. So it really is hot off the presses.
Yeah, brilliant. You heard it here first. Thank you, John. It's been really lovely to talk to you, and I will definitely see you over on LinkedIn.
Nice one. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Hang on, I'm going to play us out with a bit of music. Here we go.